Hey, good day. I am Kathleen Acker. I am the author of The Game of Life. Because when you look at life as a game to play, you can have so much more fun and control. So let's talk about that. How do you become a whistleblower? And shouldn't we all be whistleblowers? We should strive to be whistleblowers, right? So who am I? Okay, I am a corporate dropout and proud of it and freedompreneur. Kind of new to the freedompreneur, so testing it out the waters, so to speak, but I'm doing it on land and air. Who am I a whistleblower and what's my story? Well, I fear losing freedom. I fear losing freedom to the point where I will stand up to the biggest bully known to mankind. And that's exactly what I did. It's almost like this tale of mine and all the stories and all the trials and tribulations that I've gone through in my life were just meant for that moment, for this moment, for me to stand up now in my purpose and in my mission to help you become the whistleblower in your life. And that means standing up to whoever the bully is in your life and saying, yo, I'm going to blow a whistle on you if you don't go in your little timeout chair. And that's what we're doing. Just having fun, just seeking the truth, pulling off that blindfold on Lady Justice so she can see the superior law of laws of nature and nature's God. And how do we do that? So during the pandemic, planned as it is, I have evidence of that part of the whistleblowing. You see, I have actual evidence that it was planned. So during this plan, then there was all these masking mandates and testing bullshit and fear of if you don't do it you will die, you will kill your grandmother, your mother, and everyone you love. Now I gotta tell you, we're mankind because we're kind, and because we're kind we don't want to hurt anyone innately, and we want to do what is right. So, as a society, we want to obey, we want to fit in, we want people to like us. So, when you stand outside and you start questioning, let me tell you, it's a lonely road. You get called a lot of names and you don't fit in so well to you know, the little box. I never was good about fitting in a box. I was always the kid that wanted to pull back the veil, like Toto in The Wizard of Oz, and that's what I did. You see, I always saw the big wizard in The Wizard of Oz, the scary like illusion of deception right there. And I thought, well, that must mean that there's an illusion of deception all around us, right? So I think I'm going to be like Toto. I'm going to pull back the veil, open that porthole to the mind of consciousness and expand and see what transcends. Because as we transcend, we break the trance that we're in. Yeah. So it's a play on words, right? Just like the word believe. A lot of us believe media. And we believe media without question, as if it's telling us the truth. Like, who on media would ever tell us the truth? I mean, think about it. Who writes the script? And what is it in it for that script writer? And why does all the media and actors have the same message? Oh, I might have the answer for you on that one. Anyway, so back to the Wizard of Oz, pulling back the veil. You know, all those monkeys? Those monkeys are the people that obey to the nth degree. And those are what I call Santas. They believe in Santa. They saw Santa at the mall, they saw him on TV, they saw him on movies, therefore Santa's real. And they are never ever going to question it. And if you question it, then you're not a good person. Yeah, according to their standards. Now, we were all there. I mean, the ones that got told Santa lie, right? At some point. And at some point, we decided to grow up. Well, some of us. And it's just like in the Milgram experiment. Look that up. Same thing. Some people were like, yeah, no, not having it, not going to hurt another. I'm leaving. Take your money. And so then you have the next phase of the Santa, which is in my book. And that's when you're like, wait a minute. How can Santa have be at everyone's chimney in the same town at the same minute? Now that seems quite impossible. Another example of that might be, let's say they have simulation agreements, and let's say that simulation agreements like is at a airport or a concert or something, and they have paid actors that come in, and on these simulation agreements they say, hey, there's a chemical warfare, and if you don't take the antidote we just happen to have right here and ready available, you know, then you're going to die. So it's fear porn, and you should obey because you're now in a fear state, and they've made it very dramatic, okay? And it's all because they've been planning it in a simulation agreement, and they have crisis actors there to help you. Look up the milligram experiment. You'll know what I'm talking about. It's just a game. And when you think of life as a game, it makes it a lot easier to swallow. Anyway, so let's say there's simulation agreements. Now, the people who went from Santa and then went through questioning, and they're the ones who got up and left. Okay, so that group right there is the ones you want to be friends with because they're going to be the ones that say, wait a minute. So there's a sudden chemical warfare out of the blue, and you just happen to have an antidote right here, ready, available. I mean, no negotiating on supply chain and no worrying about how to get all the mechanisms and everything. You just happen to have it readily available. See, this is what was conditioning. Remember the Batman movie when there was some poison going into all the water and people were like, you know, dying or going crazy or whatever, but not a problem because they came up with the antidote and they had it within like what, hours? And they were able not to only have it within hours, but to get it to everyone. Yeah, because that's realistic, not. And so that's called conditioning so that she won't question because you've already seen it. So they're programming your mind. Now, when you get to pulling back the veil part, when you get over the illusion of deception of the big scary Wizard of Oz, right? Because you already killed the witch. I mean, you threw the life of water on her, right? And then she shriveled down because you're starting to wake up. You're starting to know the power of the source of faith. The faith is the laws of nature, nature's God, source, creator, whatever name and title you want to give it, there is a power, and we can will that power. And that scares a few people. It does. Mostly those in government and large companies and banks. Anyway, but we're going to have a compassionate heart. So you have a superpower inside of you. Let's awaken it. So back to the story. Hopefully you're enjoying it. So I get this job out of the blue. I get all my jobs literally out of the blue, like divine guidance. So I am in manufacturing. I've been in credit. Jobs just fall in my lap. I've been in drug discovery, negotiated with pharma across the globe, and I all of a sudden get a job, and I start in 2020, January 2020. It's with this company, Riser. It sounds like Riser. Anyway, I start working for him. Immediately, I'm like, wait a minute. Everything's a contract because I'm a contract expert, not an attorney. I don't give legal advice. Everything's a contract. So I'm like, there's these trainings, and on these trainings, they have um, 50% population reduction chart. And I'm like, yeah, that's not cool. I'm going to have to ask about this. Wait a minute. What is this? Have you ever seen The Good Life? And she questions, wait a minute. So that's what I was doing. I was like, wait a minute. Is this a test to see if I'm going to agree to a 50% population reduction? Because I'm not. See, my sons and I are in that population. That's not cool. Everyone I love and likes in that population. So how do I know like I'm not part of that reduction part? Yeah. And it doesn't matter if I'm part of it or not. It's like not cool. And it's coming from a pharmaceutical company. That's a little alarming, don't you think? Anyway, good thing I asked because the training got updated and the chart was removed. Not suspicious at all. And then another chart in another training came up. And see, the company, the Riser company, it rhymes with Razor, also is owned by another company. It's three letters and it's like Glaxo. And so that's their parent company. And did you know that they pay millions, some years, billions for fraudulent activity to the FDA? The FDA catches them, and then they get money for it. Where does that money go? Huh. I wonder, isn't that a coincidence that some of the people that work at the FDA are board members for these companies? I mean, it's just kind of coincidental. I mean, I'm sure that's completely innocent. I mean, I trust everyone. Yeah, blindly, like Lady Justice. And that does seem odd, doesn't it? So I was already questioning things when I first started. And then the whole like shutdown of the world happened. And I started questioning a lot more. And that we could get into in detail because I questioned it quite a bit. Really good questions, I think. I got in trouble, got threatened on my job a couple times, like I was going to lose it if I kept asking questions just for asking questions. Isn't that interesting? And then one day they hired me on because I came in as a contractor. And 1 week to the day of me being officially an employee of Riser, a lady from New York, head of global HR or something, sends me an email saying, "Remember, everything's a contract." And on that email, this nice lady that I've never met in my life says, "Hey, we're going to need you to stick something up your nose twice a week for no other reason than I said so. And even though you work from home and you're perfectly healthy, we just want you to do it because we want you to obey us." I'm like, cool. That sounds like one heck of amazing offer. Except I don't know that you have jurisdiction in my home. I don't think you have jurisdiction in my body. This doesn't really apply to work in any way, shape, or form. And if you have a duty, as they said they did, to my community, well, I live in the United States and I didn't know we were a communist country. Huh. I'm going to have to ask some questions. See, that's called conditional acceptance. Now we're negotiating, and that's when it gets fun. And see, so they would say, like, "Oh, we follow CDC guidelines. Great." And then on the testing, I would look at the 80-page document from the CDC, and it requires GLP labs, good laboratory practices, and reagents. Huh. And neither one are used because reagents are very extremely hard to get in normal circumstances, and they're kept at sub-zero temperatures, which means handled with extreme care, and not one hospital or Walgreens or CVS or any of them, not even LabCorp, has any of that ability. So, they were not following CDC guidelines. Lawsuit, maybe a lawsuit, but I'm not an attorney, so I don't give legal advice. You'd have to call one. Anyway, after about 36 correspondences in about 7 weeks of me going back and forth with some ladies and some men, and me always addressing them in the highest jurisdiction of the land of the living and the air of the free. And that would be a man and woman from a man and woman, regardless of your title, that works for a principal. See, that's agent and principal. So, principal is always responsible for the agent's actions, and the agent is always a man or a woman, right? Because government can't run itself; it doesn't exist without a man or a woman, and neither does a company. So then they sent me this like form to fill out. It was really nice of them. It was called a religious exemption, and on the religious exemption, I was like, "Oh wow! So I don't agree to waive my Title VII rights. So I'll just take your form and change it." And so I converted it to Word. I'm just telling you, so if you ever got that situation, you can do this. I converted it to Word and I made it to Nikki and some other men or women, and then who play whatever role. And I, a woman who plays whatever role. And you ask, and I put it in quotes, you ask this. And then guess what I did? Do you think that I said and justified my religion? Or do you think I told him to stick it up there? Well, I didn't do that. And I didn't do either one of those. What I did is I just asked him very nicely, "Is it your intention to trespass on property of I by way of harm, loss, murder, extortion?" I'm just asking. So every question that they asked, I asked, "Is it your intention to trespass on property of I by way of harm, loss, murder, extortion?" Just asking. So I never did really give them an answer because we don't have to. That would be waiving our rights, and we don't want to waive those rights. What happened was charts were removed, just like the 50% population reduction. Charts were removed on other things, like they had a chart that showed unvaccinated were dying at alarming rates. And so I questioned the source and the date on those because I have opposing evidence. So they just removed them. They also, after a challenging little time with the general counsel who I reported to, they like she wanted me to come in. She was trying to be this big bad bully, this, big bad wolf. And like, you must obey me. And so I was like, yeah. So like, where's that jurisdiction thing? And she wanted me to test after 2 years of not testing. And I was like, so yeah, it's probably not going to happen because like nobody's even testing anymore. So what you're doing is just trying to be a bully, right? And so push came to shove, and guess what happened? A week later, the entire facility went test free, vax free. Crazy, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure it's just a coincidence and had nothing to do with the documents that I wrote. What I'm telling you this story for, because I think it's kind of fun to play this game when you know your power, when you can stand in your rights, when you claim your rights, and you know that I have rights, not just God given or um, inherent rights, but all rights. I mean, let's just take them all. Let's not specify this one or that one. We'll just take them all and we'll give up none ever. We'll just invoke laws of nature and nature's God and rescind anything else, especially evil and evildoers, right? This is what I want to help empower others to get to the level of encouragement and empowerment and to stand in their rights and to know that you are worthy, that you are powerful, that you have superpowers. Seriously. And when you have a compassionate heart, you can excel those because when we get so many people to courage and empowerment, it lifts the vibration of the negative. And who doesn't want that in this world? I mean, we can flip the script on corruption. And wouldn't that be lovely? I mean, we can flip the script. I mean, we can go into family courts and flip the script on the evil that's going on in those courts and wherever else. I mean, whatever your passion is, we can do that. We can do that together. We can build a community and a movement. This isn't just a job for me. This has become my passion and my mission. And it's my calling to help others live authentically in their right and in their power without fear. The only fear that you will have is not acting. It becomes like running a marathon. You build up that stamina and then it just becomes a game. And you just keep rolling the dice and you keep playing and you keep just having it all come in. Anyway, I'm proof that it works. I'm proof that we can stand up to the biggest bully in the world and that we can have them stand down and be silent. And that, my friend, is the game of life. So, like, share, let me know what you think, and don't forget to roll the dice and play the game of life. Until next time.